Hey guys, welcome to Hanji Hello episode. I can't remember which number episode this is now, but it will be in the description. This episode was with a very good friend of mine, DJ Doni Brasco. Welcome, Donny, on the podcast.
It's also formal. Shy, bro.
No. So basically, when I started the podcast, there was a bunch of different episodes that I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And we were talking about this just before this started. So one of the episodes that I really wanted to do was an episode about grief, about dealing with loss of a loved one. And I know I couldn't do this episode and have a conversation by myself. And I feel like me and you, Donny, I feel like we have a connection based on things that we've been through. And I think maybe before we kind of set this episode up and start having a conversation about it, maybe we should kind of discuss what that connection is. So my dad passed away in 2016, very, very suddenly, unexpectedly. And I feel like after that, there was a lot of things that happened emotionally and growth-wise, and me as a person, my personality, my outlook on life. A lot of things happened to me after that point. And one of the things that really kind of happened to me was I started thinking about other people that I'd been through as well. And I knew that you had been through a situation where you'd lost your mum. Was it a couple of years before that?
It was 2012 I lost my mum.
Okay. So I remember at that point, I remember you came to my house when that happened. And I don't know why, but there was something in me when I saw you. I felt like you know what I'm going through, and I felt like you were someone that would understand what I was going through, and I don't know, I just had like a connection. I've had this with quite a few people who have lost a parent, who I feel like we have some sort of understanding or something.
I think it was dark. I think I remember one of the things is I think it was a statement that was really negative, and I could never say it to anyone, but I said it to you, and you understood it. And that statement, I don't know if you remember, was, I'm looking at other people's parents wishing they were dead too, so they knew what I was feeling without just telling me this is what I'm feeling. And I think that was something you really understood. I've never said that to anyone.
For me, I think exactly like that thought. Less dark was, you get it. Like everyone should. I feel like for you wanted everyone to understand what you were going through.
Yeah. And
that's where that statement came from. But for me, I felt like there was like not a euphoria. I feel like it's like this. When we lose someone who's super close to us, there's 2 points I'm going to make here. One is you have a whole new understanding of reality. So those of us who are lucky enough to have one parent or two parents from the day that we're born till however old we are, when they're gone, your base level of understanding life and the world is gone. I'm sure we've had this conversation before as well. So basically from every day of your life, if you had, like for me, for example, every day up until 2016 of my life, I had two parents. So every day I wake up in the morning, I'm like, okay, cool, I've got my mum and dad. And then, so that's every day. Since I was born, I've had that as a base, as a foundation for my life. That's an understanding of my life. That's what I see every single day. And then as soon as my dad was gone, it was like, okay, so what's the foundation now? Like everything that I've based my understanding of the world and life on is completely different now. Yeah. And you kind of like, you're free falling. You're like, okay, cool. So what? It's a new reality. You've witnessed a new way of living life, and you feel like, what now? Like, that's how I felt. I felt like I was falling.
I think that's kind of hitting it on the head, because like there's so many references, right? It's like you're saying this, and so much is coming to my thing. Like, I'll quote Superman. There's a quote in there that says the father becomes the son and the son becomes the father.
Yeah.
And even that's a progression. Now, the thing is I don't think our awakening happened until when our reality was taken away. And I just watched The Matrix recently again, the red and blue pill, and that's the reality. what was not important was just getting up and phoning your mate anymore and finding out what they're doing. This person, rest in peace, Dad, this person who is super strong, a security, who was just like the stairs in your house. It's there.
Yeah. It's
an imprint.
Yeah, it's subconscious. Like, it's just you never think they're gonna go. Like, we know that at the back of our minds. Like, you know, as human beings, we know everyone's gonna go one day, but you never imagine how it will happen and when it will happen and what life will be like once it does happen.
Yeah, and I think it changes a lot of things what were very important to the people at the time. Like, I know I had this whole moment that just these little fickle things weren't so important, and I was like you, I was looking for more people to relate to.
So you had we talked about this as well. Is it all right to talk about, like, you went to
of course.
So you were I remember at that point you were going through therapy as well, and was that to do with depression and dealing with loss and grief about your mum? Because I remember we had these conversations at that point. I remember you talking to me about
like, Rax, my situation in short was I was a single parent and it was just me and mum. So that was our unit. We were just me and mum. And we went through hard lives. Like, I remember when I was 12, my dad was fighting a court case and I was going into court. And there was things on, like, he'd accused my mum of being a prostitute. So, I mean, at 12 years old, being pulled out of school to go for interviews, going to court, talk about these things. It was in the 80s when we grew up, and I think we didn't have many Asian friends because of a single parent stigma that's attached at the time. So I was quite a lonely soul as it is, but I had my mum. It was like my best friend, you know, like my bestie. It was my security, that she would empower me, look after me, as well as teach me about the world. You know, I got everything from her, good and bad. And when I went to uni in my first year, she had a series of 3 strokes. So I had to leave in my second year, at the end of my second year, and I came back and became a full-time carer for my mum. She was paralysed on one side. She was rehabilitating slowly, but she lasted about 12 years after those strokes. And then she passed away. And I think when she passed away, bro, my purpose... Like, you know, I was doing radio, I was going to like it, and it worked out brilliant. I'd do the breakfast show, I'd be there doing my little bits there, and I'd be home by like 11 o'clock in the morning, you know, and mum's waking up at 10:30, she'd have a carer, and I could go back and like care for her. So my life was perfect, but boom, 2012, she went into hospital, and by, on May the 27th, she died. Like, she slowly deteriorated in hospital. And what was happening is I was going into hospital, but there was nothing I could do. I literally... saw my mum go in for some wounds on her leg, develop sepsis, have a heart attack, slowly deteriorate, and I watched this on my own. No family.
How long was that process?
It was just about 5.5 months.
Okay.
So she went in on the 12th of January, 27th of May. She was she died. She came home for a week in between then. But I watched my mum going for a person who could talk. Fair enough, she lost her speech, but she could talk and she was very able. She was a teacher. She was deputy head at Upton Cross Primary School. So it was really weird. And I remember, like, when she went, there was nothing. There was no one to miss me. There was nothing to go home for. There was nothing to do.
At home, was it just you two?
Just us two at home. You know, and like we're saying, that security, like, I knew I was getting to an age... I just didn't know what to do in my life, man. Like, I knew every day I'd have to look after her, had to put food on the table. But that wasn't even so much of a priority for me because, you know, it was there. There was a structure.
It just became like a routine for you. That's what you're going to do.
And it was cool. I'd come back, I'd be happy. Friday nights, I wouldn't go to the pubs or bars. I started DJing because in my head, I had to justify why I'm out.
Okay.
I couldn't justify that I'm going to a club to party because my mum's disabled at home, bro.
Yeah. So that became like your
work.
Okay. So you have to go because it's work. It's not
work, you know. And
did you enjoy it when you were doing it, or you were out?
It was a release. One thing I always said, I think DJs in themselves have their own depression, right? I think they're the most popular, loneliest person in a room, and I think as an artist, you can definitely relate to this. I say this, and I've spoken to you about it. We go back after probably some of the best gigs of our life. And some of them have been with you, Rax.
Yeah.
But I'm lying there on my own with no one to talk to.
Yeah. You're on stage, and I mean, I don't want to do like a poor us because
it's
not that, but you see this in media and all sorts of films and stuff as well. Like you're on stage and you're getting so much love, and then you'll go back and it's just you by yourself.
It's pretty quick. It's from like 1 minute, like
it's like a super high
and a super low.
Yeah.
So keeping a balance in there, family, good friends play a vital role.
Definitely.
My support network was feeling like I got value looking after my mum.
Okay.
Now I'm out DJing. I've just done a sick gig with Rax, 3,000 people are shouting out your name, whatever. We've burnt it, we've had food, gone home. And I've got no one to even smile. Like my mum, the typical Asian, she wanted me to be like a doctor or something.
Yeah,
and I was doing biochemistry at university and I had to leave. So I felt a big, massive, like my grandma used to say, she goes, Don, you're going to make your mum happy. She's already lost her husband, no other kids. There's a lot of pressure on me.
Yeah. But when you were DJing and you were on radio, did your mum listen to you on radio? Was she happy with what you...
She hated my DJing. Like,
she did?
She was just like, well, she enjoyed that I'd do it at home and it was something as a hobby, but it wasn't gonna be a career for me.
I think it's one of those things where any creative is going to be looked at like
right.
it's not
right,
a career.
Right.
It was one of these things though, but any like most Asian parents are like, yeah, but it's not a job. It's not a job. You might enjoy it. It might be fun, but it's not a job.
It could make or break. And what happened, I think, when I got onto radio, and back then they were like, I got a job on Sunrise Radio, and I took over from Club Asia and went on to Buzz Asia. I think what happened is when her friends in her circle that knew her said, "Oh my God, is that Don on radio?"
Yeah.
Shit started changing.
Yeah.
Like then she looked at me.
I had I had the same experience with my parents. When other people start saying, "Oh, is that so and so on the TV or is that so and so on the radio?" Then they kind of lay off a bit, or
No, they start seeing things go. But don't get me wrong. I mean, I didn't have a parent that was totally against it. Like my mum, even my habits, the things I do, like I smoke, and even when she was open about it, because like I said, it's a very frank relationship and very open with her. But yeah, it was hard, and I think what she wanted for me was security. She was a single parent. I think, and her thing is, people used to say to her, you can't do it without a man.
Okay,
like that's something women, I think, to this day still get. And like, I have a little special place for single mothers that go out there working. Right, I don't mean to disgrace if you can't get out working, but to be able to hold a job, hold a status in community, and hold your dignity, it's a different level. It's a different. I go to work, I come back, I complain, I'm so hungry, blah blah blah, order a takeaway. But I can't imagine how my mum was going to Euston, cleaning dishes at a bus station, picking me up from a childminder's, saving money, sent me to a private school, educated me so that I passed my 11 plus, then sent me off to university. Didn't have to worry about money.
That's amazing, man.
A car at 18, bro. As soon as I turned 18, there was a car outside for me.
But bro, that's a testament to your mum.
Yeah.
And the person you are today. Like, Don, I'm not just saying this for bro, gas up your ass, but bro, you're like one of the most liked people and the most easiest person to get on with, like, in this whole industry. Like, trust me, bro. Like, there's no one that I've ever spoke to and they've been like, oh no, not Don. Like, it's literally the complete opposite.
I should speak to all my exes, bro. Shout out my ex girl.
But like, on a legit, bro, that's a testament to like how you were raised and how you are as a person. I feel like
man, you know what it is. She wanted me to be a doctor, bro. I wanted to be successful. She didn't get to see it. I don't think I'm half as successful as I should be right now, and I think that's one of my biggest driving forces, because I still believe she's looking down.
Well, that's it's a constant journey. We're always trying to figure it out. We're always trying to improve ourselves and get better. So like, that side of things I think is quite universal. Like, a lot of us feel like that. Like, I feel like that as well. But that's kind of an inspiration for us to keep going and to keep going harder. Going back to like the side of things where like talking about losing a loved one. So the point I was going to bring up was, I was very lucky because when my dad passed away, literally it's a very long story. It's very, very sudden. He wasn't in this country when it happened. He was in another country, and I don't really want to go into the details of it. But what I did want to say was that as soon as it happened, there was like a coming together of a lot of people, like as in family, friends, my friends, my brother's friends, like people who we hadn't seen for years. Like, and this happens a lot, especially like in Asian communities. When someone passes away, I liken it to a wound in your body. So I don't know the technical terms, and I ain't studied like, you know, medicine or whatever, but from what I understand, if you cut yourself, some sort of blood cells, I can't remember if it's the white cells or whatever, they come rushing basically to stop that wound from bleeding, and they create a scab. And that's what I liken when someone passed away, especially when my dad passed away. I felt like everyone came rushing to like, so we wouldn't, you know, to support us, so we wouldn't like completely like fall into a depth of not functioning basically. You know, we had like, I remember we had family staying with us every day. The house was, and for me it was, I needed that. I needed people around me. I needed my friends to come see me. I needed to talk to people. I remember calling people all the time, and that's not really my nature to, like, you know me as well, bro. I'm not really like a social person. I like my own kind of space, but for that, in that moment in time, I needed the support of people.
Well, we connected, I think, better as friends after Dad.
Yeah.
To be real, and I think I still remember you messaged or you called me, and you'd like, I need to talk.
Yeah. Because that's the thing, like,
I've never seen that side of you.
As soon as I saw you, bro, I just felt like you understood. But what I wanted to ask you was, so that was my experience. Like, you're saying that when, for you, was that a similar experience? Was it different? Like, did you have people around you to support you?
Like, people are beautiful, you know, that's one thing. People are beautiful. And a lot of times I think people are they don't know what to do to make it. But just one thing I could say, looking around at the funeral, I never, you know, looking around and looking at people at the funeral and saying, oh my God, who's that? And then people coming up. I don't know if you've done it as well, but they come past and they shake your hand and say bye when they're leaving.
Yeah.
Like, there were some people that came over. I remember there was this neighbouring family that came and told me a story about Mum. And I, like you said, I think it was mad. But what was hard was after a month.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. Again,
like the highs, the lows. I had everyone for a month, maybe 6 weeks, maybe 2.
Then everyone got to get on with their lives. They got to crack on, and then you're still there with it,
with no life.
Yeah. So what was that at that point? What were you?
That's when my depression kicked in. Bro.
Okay.
I lost my radio show.
Why do you think that was?
Oh no, it's Avatar lit, mate. He called me and he goes, "You've taken too much time off."
Okay.
I had an argument. I said my mum died. He goes, "I'll give you a chance, sign any contracts." I said, "F your contract, mate."
Is that because you were hurt and you were angry?
I was hurt and angry that someone said it was time off. I'm like, no, my life was stripped away, bro.
Yeah.
Someone's chopped my legs off.
Yeah, there was no empathy there. There was no understanding.
And I remember I turned around and I said to him, and I've said this on camera before, but I said to him, I go, "You're the devil, mate, and I don't want to work with the devil." It's as simple as that. Rax, I walked out of the studio and my legs fell to jelly. I fell down on the floor. This guy, another presenter, picked me up, took me to a room. And like, at that point, I didn't know what to do. I had no money. I owed 11 grand to Mum's funeral. I had to go to India to take her ashes. Her ashes are still sitting on rent. You know, I'm living, you know, with this. It's not like I have massive loads in the bank and stuff, but I'm living hand to mouth, having my little savings. I've just spent 11 grand on like the whole funeral costs. That's everything I've got. You know, all my savings just there, and I've got no more income coming in. I don't feel like going to gigs. Depression hit then. I didn't realise I was in depression. I thought I was living a normal life, but I stopped answering calls. I stopped reading messages. I couldn't. I stopped answering the door. And I'd pretend. So say, for example, you'd come over. I'd sit there and talk to you, and I'd just be sitting there staring at the TV or whatever, and it's on. So it's normal. And it took like one of my friends, Jeffrey, the little Filipino guy. I don't know if you've seen me with him, but like, he sat there and he started crying one day. Like, he's sitting there and he started crying, and he turned around and he goes, "Bro, I don't know what's wrong with you." And he goes, I'm just gonna sit right here until you're ready to talk. And then I'm sitting there, and again it was just a while. One of my friends, Shy, he climbed through the upstairs window because I didn't answer a door, and he saw a window open, so he climbed through while his wife's keeping watch outside to find me. What happened, Rax, man? Like, Mum used to pay the council tax. My council tax stopped getting paid. They wanted the money. It's come up to about a year, so they want their money back. I'd got nothing coming in, and everything just got on top. And on top of it, truth is, I just didn't want to do anything. you know, you're going to phone me up and say, Donny, how are you? I'm not good, bro. You know, I'm sad as fuck. I feel like fucking killing myself. I'm at Hammersmith Station, leaning over the edge, and some next random Italian guy has just pulled me back because he said, bro, you're going to get hit. I'm like, bro, I want to get hit. The only thing that was keeping me going is the fact that I've got this little cat that I go on about like she's everything, but she is everything. Like, if I didn't have that cat, I wouldn't care about going home at night, bro. To go and check her. I really don't. And I think that's something that's come through like now. I get quite wound up because I think I've cared a lot about the wrong things a lot, but there's just nothing to lose. And when I went into that depression dip, yeah, that was just dark, bro. That was dark.
What was the point? What was the turning point from that to starting to like turn a corner, or just was there a moment where you were like, okay, cool, like
I think the bailiffs took my car from outside the house. They took my car. I was getting constant knocks at my door. They sent a notice saying that they've now adjourned for the court to come in and they can repossess or they can break in and enter on the property now. They don't need my permission. And I've never seen that from a bailiff. I didn't realise that now they can go into your property, they can force entry into your property with the police. And I shit it, man. I really shit it. I sat there, we had like the old TV that mum used to watch, like just before she died, I bought like a new 50-inch TV. So she was watching like some old Sony thing. But me being me, you know, like, mum, come on, if you're just going to watch TV, watch it on 6 thing. So we bought this TV, but I'm looking at all these things that she never got to use. And I'm just like, I can't do this, bro. She did not work her arse off in this country for me to just do this. And I remember something happened. I woke up one morning, well, it's one afternoon about 1 o'clock, and I opened up my laptop and I'm like, I need to make a CV and try and find a job. Even if it's secure, I just need to try and find a job because I need to start sorting this stuff out. And then at that time, it was really weird, Rax, bro. I opened it up. I remember it was 1:07. I looked at the time. I wrote the word, like my name, my date of birth. You know, the front part of the CV, starting that off. About 1:30 something, I get a phone call, and it was this guy called Tony Patty. He used to work with Sunrise back in the day. And like, he phones up and he goes, "Hi, Donny, how you doing? Tony Patty here." This is very talks very portly, very pompous, right? Tony Patty's old boy, isn't it? Like, Tony Patty here. He goes, so Leica have taken over Sunrise Radio, the frequencies, and I'd like to get my 18 back. I'm like, what? And he goes, yeah, come and see me today or tomorrow. And he goes, we'll talk about a show. I'm like, what? So boom, like literally on that day, Rax, it was the first day I had a shower. I didn't shower for 3 months.
Do you feel like that's a sign? That's you know, God's timing? Like, what do you think of that? Like, literally, like this, as soon as your mind frame switched, something changed.
Have you seen the film Collateral Beauty with Will Smith?
Yeah.
I found that really hard to understand, that film.
Yeah.
Right? And it took me a while to really absorb it. I think those 15 months where my life was at its lowest, where I wished I was dead, I think it was needed to really know who that person was to me.
Okay. Because
I think through all of that, and for me to understand, it should have been shorter. I wish it could have been a month. I wish I could have mourned like people in 2 days.
I think grief, I was going to bring this point up afterwards. Sorry to interrupt, but grief is not linear. And it's impossible to be like, all right, cool. I'm going to be sad for 2 weeks and then I'm going to be all right. Because a lot of times what you'll do is you'll be all right and then something will just happen, or you'll be perfectly fine, and one day you'll just wake up and be so upset. Because it's like, I read a quote about it. I remember I did a couple of things after my dad passed. I remember reading about the grief process of grief. You know, like when it's a denial, anger, 7 stages. Denial, depression, anger, disbelief, blah, all this kind of stuff. And then I remember there was one quote. It was like, I can't remember who says it. If I Google it, I'll find it. But grief is like the ocean. It comes in waves. And, you know, the waves can go back out to sea, but they can come back again. And I feel like that's very, very true. Like, even this been 5 years now. Like 2 months ago, I had a really, really sometimes you have moments where it's like a week, you have 2 weeks, whatever. But about about 2 or 3 months ago, I had a really, really like low day, like really super, super low day. I just was by myself the whole day. I was just literally, I think it was raining that day. I put my hood up, went for a walk, and I was just crying, like literally, because it just, I know the reason why it happened that day, because I was having a conversation with someone and they were bringing up a lot of things. It was my gran, actually. She was talking about my dad a lot, and I don't know, it was just something that happened. And that's like, what, 5 years later, 5 years later, and it can still happen. Like I'm sure it will happen when there's really happy days. Literally, you have a part of you that feels like,
It's gone.
I wish he was here to see this, or he's not going to see this. You know, you there's always a part of you that's missing. And I've said it so many times, like online, to talking to people on quotes, whatever. You don't get over it, you get used to it.
Yeah.
And that is like the number one thing. You do get used to it. It's really hard at the beginning, but it's something that you just have to. It's not even something that you just have to. It just happens. Like any like in our house, there's routines. Like I'm sure in your house there are routines. You'd come home, you do this. You don't do that anymore because those aren't necessary. That
Dinner's
person
not at the same time.
Yeah.
You're eating alone.
You have to. It's a new life that you have to kind of, you know, you can't go to that person anymore. You can't have those conversations. That person's not there to consult. You know, it's a new reality, and you have to create that new reality. And it takes time, and it's difficult. And there's moments where you go back and you go forth, and all of that's okay. Like it's okay. There's no rules to it. The person who created that 7 stages of grief, I watched an interview of them, and they said it themselves. They were like, that's not like law. That's not like the order for everyone. Not everyone goes through all those stages. That it's not a linear, like that's just a framework for how it can happen, or how certain people do deal with it or can deal with it. It's not like, you know, it's not set in stone that that's how it happens. That's how it should happen. Continue. Sorry, bro. So we were talking about, you were talking about, so the phone call came, and you were going to start back at radio.
So I started back at radio. I decided to shower and trim my beard. Like, I know it sounds mad, but I keep my beard since my mum died. Before, I never used to have a little goatee.
Okay.
And I know it sounds stupid, but it's kind of like my visual reminder of the pain that I've gone through.
Okay.
Right, and
it's your battle scars.
Yeah, and that's just the way I look at it. And people look, I'm just like, that's the way I look at it. But yeah, I started back at radio, and then
so that was your turning point.
It was literally on a day. It's like, you know, some people talk about this light switch. Mate, I would be like, shut up, it's not gonna happen like that. But bro, for me, there literally was one morning when I thought, because I think what happens is with grief, I think the biggest problem I had was you've got no control.
Yeah.
I gave up my life. Like, bruv, I was married, got divorced. I left my wife because she wanted to move out. My mum's the same. I left university to do, like, I went to Oxford Brooks Uni. I lost my virginity there, bruv. I fucking was like, God, they were loving me. And I've come from an age, you know what I'm saying? Like everything was possible. I was DJing in the SU there. I was earning like £25 for a set, plus free drinks. So everyone loved me. I was living my best life, bro. But I gave up all of that. And I would never change a thing. But through the entire time I was my mum's carer, that gave its own issues. It was hard. Like, don't get me wrong, I love my mum, never changed anything. And I think I've done the best. And anyone that knows me will tell you the same, like Don was there constantly. Even my friends, to every single one of my friends, they're rough bastards, man, but they were there. They stayed with me Sundays, looked after. They'd done the gardening with me, wallpapered, painted with me. Like, my friends' schools,
people are
man,
amazing, aren't they?
Seriously, Rax, they just jump out randomly.
I always have this, like, when people say, like, you know, the world is shit, and, you know, people are amazing, man. Especially like when you need them. Like, if you're doing things from a pure heart, and it always comes back around. And people are amazing. Like, you know, the amount of love that I felt at that point when I was, like, you know, there was, like you're saying, after that initial month, or, you know, 6 weeks or 2 months or whatever, when you're left alone and you're like, okay, now I have to figure out this by myself.
What are you
But
gonna
before
do?
that, even after that, bro, there's always like, bro, you picked up my call when I called you. You know what I mean? Like, you didn't have to be like, bro, what's this? Do you know what I mean?
No,
And there was a lot of people like that, bro.
Rax, there was you. I remember like it was the 3rd year of my mum passing. Oh no, I think it was the fifth or 6th year of my mum's passing. So this must have been 2 years after Dad,
It was
or a year.
2016 was when my dad passed away.
So yeah, I think it was about 5 years. So 5 or 6 years after my mum passed away, and it's got to that point that my friends are forgetting
Okay.
Mother's Days.
Yeah.
They're forgetting, like maybe on my birthday, that I'll be thinking about my mum. But it was you. I remember one year, and this was after Dad passed away. I think it was about 2-3 years after your dad passed away, maybe, right? So you messaged me on Mother's Day. I don't know if you remember it, but you messaged me on Mother's Day.
Yeah.
And you were the only fucking person that messaged me, bro.
Yeah. It's because I know, bro.
And that's what's hard now. Like,
Yeah.
people don't remember my mum, and I feel it's just hard because it's the memory. It's all left as a memory.
It's like there's like a emptiness that you feel on those days, and it's hard. It's really, really difficult. And I feel like that's why I say to you, like, there's a connection, because I get it. Like on Father's Day, I get it. Like my mum, God bless, like I still have my mum, but I know how it feels when there's a day and everyone's, you know, God bless everyone that's got a parent, or, you know, both their parents or whoever. But when you haven't, there is a sense of kind of, I put it like this, bro. If someone wants to get married and they're super lonely and they go to a wedding, that's like 1/10 of the feeling of what it feels like. You're like, these two people are so happy. Like, when is it going to be my turn or whatever? It's not even like, you know what I mean? It's not even close. I mean, that's the closest kind of analogy or, you know, comparison that I can make, but it's nothing compared to that.
No, it's crazy, bro. It's like, I don't want to bring it too home, and I don't know how much to say, but like, I you know, when I'm out DJing with you, bro, like one of my biggest things is like, people, have you seen my pictures? I'm always smiling like a bloody clown. Do you know why it is?
Clown, bro.
No, but you know why it is? And like, even today when I was driving up, I'm talking to my friend, I'm just like, I don't want to sit here and smile so much, like, cause I feel like my eyes go all Chinesey, my face is too big, and I hate it. I feel look disgusting. But you know, I always sit there and people go to me, why are you always smiling at Rax's gig so deeply? Because I think ever since we connected, since your dad, bruv, there's not a day I don't go by and look at people that have lost someone that are dear to him, and I imagine what that person, because I know what it is, bruv. And you said it to me once after a gig. You finished the gig and you're just like, it's just that shallow feeling because you haven't got that person that was like your supporter. You know, like on the album Heartbreak, you got that roll up on there.
Yeah. The skit of my dad, yeah. So that album was my, like, I thought, so for those who don't know, I've got an album called Heartbreak that I released in 18. So that year and the year after, there was other things that I went through as well. And that album was my way of processing those losses that I went through, specifically like a relationship and also like my dad as well. And they were really, really hard songs to write, to record, and also like when we've done them live, to perform as well, still to this day. But I do think that in my head I had this idea of, okay, once I've done it, that's me processed my grief.
No.
Like I've done the song and it's done, and that's it. Okay, cool. I've done this album. Like my dad's on there. So I'm going to tell the little story about the skit. So so basically, me and Sunit, we used to record in Luton, and there's a studio that I have in my house. And like my dad helped us put it all together. He was really good at, like, you know, he was a handyman. He could do everything. He taught himself how to do everything. He could fix cars, you know, he'd do plumbing, like he could do all sorts of stuff. Like, you know, he used to build everything in our house, like plastering, whatever he could put his hands to, he would do, painting, everything.
Pre-YouTube videos.
Everything. I don't know how he taught himself, but, you know, he came to this country and he taught himself all these skills. And he's very, very, like, good with his hands. Anyway, so that's the studio that he kind of built. And like my dad had a really funny way of speaking English and Punjabi. And even now, like in my family, we still say things that my dad used to, like, it's how he used to talk. Because it was like, it was really like, it was funny, but we would say it in such an endearing way. So one of the things that my dad would say is, like, if one of our friends was there, like, who wasn't like, actually, it didn't matter if they were Asian or white or black, whatever. Yeah. If any of my friends were there, my brother's friends or whatever, he'd say, like, they'd come. He's a really sociable person, so he'd be like, "Hello, man," or he'd say, "All right, boy."
So is that why you and Sully we always say random stuff?
So we have to say that. So in my family, that's one of the things, like, "Hello, man." Like, my brothers would say, "Hello, man." Like,
"Hello, man."
Like, you know, that's not something that you'd say in it. You'd be like, "Hey, how you doing?" But my dad had his way. He'd have all these different things of saying things. Anyway, so we wanted a skit for the album, Fulfilling Ambition, that me and Sunit put together at EP in 2005, I think it was. So I was like, "Dad, come to the studio and we just want you to talk and we're going to record it and, you know, we'll use it as a skit." So we had a session where it was literally, I think he was in the studio for like 5-10 minutes. And my dad was, you know, super cool. So he's in his kurta pajama and he's got his headphones in. And we're like, me and Sunit are like giving him lines like, "Dad, say this." Or, "What would you say if, you know, we'd got the music too loud?" And, you know, we start saying all this stuff. So then he says this thing where he goes, you know, in Punjabi, he goes, "Thodi ji awaaz cut karoge?" You know, "All the time roll up aayi jande rehinde ho." So we just took that little section and we added it to the end of a track called Majestic, which was released in like 2006, 2007. And then when I was putting together the Art Break album, I remembered that we recorded that session. So I said to Sunit, like, "Do you still have that session?" Bearing in mind, it's like, what, you know, over 10 years since we did that. And Sunit, like, looked through, bless him, man, he looked through his old computer and he found the session. And he found the file, and it's like, I think it's like 4 minutes long, 3-4 minutes long. And he sent it to me, and in my head I was like, I'm gonna use this. I'm gonna use a section of this. I'm gonna put it on the album somewhere. I didn't know where, and I couldn't even listen to it. I couldn't even bring myself to listen to it. And I don't even remember when I listened to it. I think me, Sunit, and Luke were in the studio for like one of the last sessions for Art Break, and they just played it. And I just remember like kind of having a little breakdown. And there was a section that we used that's at the end of My Dad, that song on Art Break. So we had that, and it's beautiful for me. I feel like that's, you know, I've immortalized like my dad and just who he was as a person. Like, if you knew him and you heard that, you would know exactly, you know what I mean? It was just kind of, it hits you right in the heart. And I just really, really wanted to have something like that on the album. And, you know, I mean, that's the story of basically how we had that skit recorded originally and then how it ended up in the album. And it was so tough, man, listening back to that. But, you know, I've had family listen to it and they're just, you know, it kind of hits a chord, like, and I'm so glad that we were able to do that, because that's the other thing. We don't realize, this is like a life lesson. You don't realize when's the last time you're seeing someone, when's the last time you're speaking to someone. Take all the pictures, man. Take all the pictures, record as much as you can. You don't know when it's the last time you're going to be seeing. Make memories, like, you know, enjoy people's company, be in the moment. And I feel like that's one of the most important lessons, like going through all of this stuff that I've learned. I mean, as a person, how do you feel like you changed after the loss of your mum? Like, personality wise, or any kind of change? Do you think?
I think I'm angrier.
You think you're angrier?
I think I'm angry. I think I'm a bit more real.
Why do you think you're angrier?
I don't know. And maybe not angry. Maybe the word is serious.
Okay.
I don't think I'm as carefree and as stupid as I used to be.
So that's another thing that I was going to bring up, actually. So I've had these conversations where, and similar to what you're talking about with the Superman quote, there is a certain level of growing up that happens to you when you've lost a parent, or when you've lost someone who's your primary caregiver. Yeah. You have to become a different person because you don't have kind of a safety net under you. And I feel like that's why I have like a connection, or feel like I have a connection to people who have lost a parent, because you have to level up, basically. You have to become the person who is the adult, because you're not a child anymore. And that can happen in a lot. Some people, like, I haven't had kids, so I can't say that would, I can't speak on that. But I feel like that's children, yeah. I feel like that's another. I've had people say that as well.
That's like the 2 stages.
Yeah,
isn't it?
When you become a parent, or when you lose a parent, like those are the kind of 2 things that make you become a different person and evolve and level up to a different level that you weren't previously. So you feel like that. Why did you say angry? Because I feel like anger is just hurt, like unexpressed hurt.
Yeah, I don't know. I think a lot of anger comes from my own guilt of myself as well. Like you mentioned something about pictures just now.
Yeah.
I don't have any videos or many pictures on my phone of my mum. Yeah. I have like old print out pictures, but
then back then we didn't really have the
thing,
the ease of,
and that's where I say, like, I don't know if anger's the right word, but what happens is it's a really stupid thing. Like my mum used to love going Nando's, but because she only used one hand, she had to use her hands to eat, but everyone's using knife or fork in Nando's. So I took her once and she got so embarrassed, like just people watching or thinking about, and I sit there and I was just like, I was a lot younger then, man, and I think my means now compared to my means then are a lot greater, and I get frustrated. Like, if I want to go out, like life's so easy. You can go out, like I can buy a brand new whole DJ console. I can spend like 3-4 grand on just something as a toy and not think about it. But then I can't do anything to make my mum feel more comfortable or have some comforts.
But I think that's for us. In our heads, we're trying to approach a situation with who we are now, but that's not who we were then.
Yeah.
Like the person that you are now, you wouldn't even be this person without having to go all that stuff.
Yeah.
So you can't beat yourself up about things that you couldn't do. And I think the other thing, bro, like it is one of these things where we haven't, like the times were different then. Like we're talking about the video stuff.
Yeah.
Like, and even like our means, like we were different people then. We weren't who we are right now, and we didn't have the, the income or the lifestyle, whatever it was. Like, and we've only done that or become that because of what we've been through.
Yeah, it's just mad. So like, I don't know. I think. Yeah, of course it's just made me a lot more serious, and I think that, like you said, the level.
Is that a bad thing? Because being carefree is a beautiful thing, but that is I feel like that's
I find it sometimes like, I don't know if it's just, maybe it's just my age or where I'm getting to, or like, you got the pressures on, but like my boys can go out and get drunk on a Friday night and be whatless, but I'm just 7 days a week. There's something I need to do, so I need to be in my best focus and mind state. And I don't know, sometimes I feel I'm boring, man. Like, I don't have a social life. I'm going out. All I really do is watch movies.
Well, bro, people looking on the outside in, they'll be like, oh, Donnie's like DJing every week. He's on the radio. He's working. Do you know what I mean? Like from the outside. So even how you're talking about your friends, like they're probably like, oh man, I go out clubbing, but then I got to go to my job. I got to woke up 9 to 5.
It's very normal. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I'm out at clubs. I get to go to places. I get to, like, the best thing about this life now is free gifts through the door. Love that all day long. Yeah. So like you get to enjoy and live life and everything. But I think, like you said, it just becomes normalized. You get to learn to live with it because it becomes part of your role. So I'll always put, like, one thing I love pressure. I love pressure. And I think I've got, because my life trauma has only molded me with pressure. So like, even when we're doing the rehearsals, bro, like shows, for the live shows and stuff as well, like, I love that shit.
Yeah.
If I go out to a gig and
you say that, bro, and then when I put you under pressure at the last show, I'm looking at your face and you're like, what the hell are you doing?
Because you changed
it. I changed the
does everyone know about what Rax does at gigs? Yeah, he just changes the set.
Yeah,
drops tunes, change.
You got to go with the emotions and the feelings of the time.
The waves, waves.
But yeah, I remember turning around, looking at your face. I'm like, okay, we're gonna do this now, and you're just looking at me like with a shocked face.
Changing it, it's all that change. So
that's pressure, bro. That's pressure. Man. But you handle it, man. That's what I'm saying. Like, for me, I feel like
I think you test us, bruv.
No, it's not even that. I feel like I'm so grateful and I'm so confident in your guys' abilities that I don't even think. I'm like, you guys can do this.
We'll do
like
it.
you, Sunet, Luke. Like I feel like you guys could do anything, man. And when we're on the stage together, we can do anything.
With the genius boys, isn't it?
I just want to bring this one little thing up before we finish up. Was there anything else that you wanted to talk about or say?
Nah, it's really good to talk to you, man. Like I did one thing, and one thing I've not mentioned is guilt, bro.
Okay.
You know, and I wanted to lean on it is the fact of, like I said, I was a carer for my mum. I tried, even at hospital, we were feeding her. I had spreadsheets made up, Google Docs, so that people could see who's visited what time and what she's eating at through the day between me and my friends.
Okay.
Right? I tried my hardest to save her, but nothing I tried worked, man. She died anyway. And that in itself is a life lesson that I think I needed the counsellor. And even probably to a day, I'm still trying to work out is letting go of that guilt.
Yeah, surrendering.
Just letting go of that little bit of that guilt, because I don't think there was anything I could have done.
Yeah, there is that. I felt that at the beginning as well. I had these weird things in my head where I was like, this sounds so weird saying it out loud because I haven't really talked about this before. I said it to anyone before, but you know, like when you have these weird thoughts where it's like, oh, I did that and that's why that happened.
Yeah.
Like, oh, if only I hadn't done this, if only I hadn't, and I had stupid stuff that I'm not even going to say, but you would just say things like, oh, you know, if I didn't get my hair cut that day, maybe it wouldn't have happened. Or, you know, like these silly things that you tell yourself. And I feel like like I had that a lot, like during the beginning, like what if I'd have done this or what if I'd have done that differently? But I feel like one thing that I kind of hold to, like in Sikhi, there's like, we have something called Hukum. And that's basically like God's will. Like, you know, you surrender to Hukum. Like, whatever's going to happen, however it's going to happen, it's God's will. I feel like a lot of religious texts kind of remind us of that. And it's one thing that's kind of, I wouldn't say comforted me. I'm trying to think of the right word. I feel like that's what I've kind of try to understand, and I feel like I'm getting to a level where I'm understanding it, where it's like, I'm not God. Like, I can't take life, or, you know, I don't have the power to elongate someone's life. Like, that's not in my power. When you're gonna go is when you're gonna go. Whoever's gonna, however you're gonna go, wherever you're gonna go, however you're gonna do it, it's gonna happen, and it's in His hands. It's not in my hands. So I have to be the best person I can be, have the best interactions with people that I can. Like, for me, I feel like one of the things that the ways that helped me, or not helped me, but one of the changes that happened to me was I lived life very safely. I feel like I was risk averse, and that's probably just because of, you know, my childhood and how I was raised and blah blah blah. I was very risk averse, whereas I feel like now I did get to a level where not a level, but I got to a point where I was taking a lot of risks, or just, you know, a little bit reckless. I think, and that was kind of a process, or a grieving process as well, like being reckless. Like, okay, cool. If anyone can just die, then what's the point? You know, like when you go to the extreme, like... Did
you go to the sabotage kind of level?
Self-sabotage, yeah. Like I did. Yeah, I felt like there was a part of me that felt like that for a long time. Like, so what's the point? Like, might as well just do this, might as well just do that. Just, you know, what's the point? Like, if you're going to go, you're going to go. And even now, I still feel like sometimes I still do that. But I've got to a point where I'm kind of getting to a midpoint where I'm thinking about things a lot more, and I'm trying to be a bit more understanding of myself and my own reasons for doing things, why I do things, and trying to understand if that's coming from a place of fear or acting out. Because there's a part of me that's very rebellious. So I feel like I'm rebelling against, you know, whoever, like a greater power, God. Like, I feel like I'm trying to rebel against this, like, death. Like, I'm rebelling against death. Like, okay, cool. So if you're just gonna take anyone at any time and whatever, then alright, cool. What's
the point? But, you know, but it's mad. You started off this whole conversation with the 7 stages of grief. Now, if we extrapolate the grief not to a situation of someone's death, but grief in as our life. Because from the minute we are born, we're dying.
Yeah.
And when we come to the end, like you mentioned, Siki, the acceptance part of it, the Hukum part of it, is the final chapter.
Yeah.
Because when you accept that the path is going to go, the show is going to go on.
Yeah.
Your entity inside is going to carry on.
The soul don't die.
And that's all it is, bro. We just have to accept it.
Yeah.
And we can't deny it. I have arguments with people trying to live to 1,000,000 years old, drinking this juice, that juice, all of that, drinking this diet, that diet. I'm like, bro, we're going to go, and it's what difference we're going to leave in the world.
Yeah.
Because if there's one thing that we can both agree on, and I'll talk about you, is Rax, I probably give you a lot more love, because sometimes when I look at you, I see your dad's memories in you. I see your dad's and scars and his visions in you. And that's the important thing of what Raxstar is. It's those memories that are going to be passed through our legacies. And likewise, you said to me, you gave me a beautiful compliment about light. The only reason light is because when I was growing up, my mum was hated for what? Just having a husband who fucking cheated on her and ran away. And that's what the acceptance cycle is.
Yeah.
You know, we had a conversation earlier on about Instagram. Like, I've gone off Instagram.
Yeah.
I was the same. I was stuck in that trap of, damn, I better post a video of me DJing. I need to prove to all these people I'm a DJ. Damn, I need to be with this alcohol or at this venue or at this launch or at this, that. And I'm going out there to, like, I'm at launch, like, I'm sponsored by an alcohol brand, but I hardly ever post about it. Right? And we've not had the conversation with this brand. But part of the reason I don't even post about it is because I know in the Asian community how many people are affected with alcohol and drugs. And it's a real thing. So I can't, being the person I can't even post about that. So I think that's what's changing, is the acceptance of being okay to be who we are.
Yeah.
And be able to live. It's like the film Old Boy. Even though I'm a monster, can I still smile?
Is that one of the quotes?
That's one of the quotes.
I haven't seen it in so many years. That's a beautiful quote.
It's mad. Even though I am a monster, I should be allowed to smile.
But bro, I feel like, are you comparing yourself and saying you're a monster?
That's what I felt like. I'm a motherfucking monster. Like, no, you know, I think when I put it on that extremity, I think if I was to say perfection, for me, perfection is the next stage of this life.
Okay.
I feel I'm working to get to my perfect point, and when I get to that crescendo, perfect moment of my life is when I'll be blessed to go in the pearly gates or to the next chapter. I don't know if it's a heaven and hell, but the next chapter.
I feel like perfection it doesn't exist.
Everyone's perfect is different, isn't it?
I feel like, you know, some of us, in life, we look at, okay, when this happens, then I'll be happy. Once this happens, I'll be happy. If I achieve this goal, if I get married, if I do this, if I do that, once that happens, then I'll be happy.
Yeah.
But that's how your whole life goes away, because you're never happy.
I don't
you're not in the moment.
I don't think perfection can be masked on Maya or the illusions.
Yeah.
I think the perfection is a mental stability. And again, going back to Gurbani and Sikhi, that's what it's about. It's about mental state of peace, knowing what you have to do when you have to do it. But when you don't have to do it, sitting there peacefully.
Amongst everything, you can still have that peace.
Yeah.
Regardless of
and
what is.
that's perfection.
Man, I really want to get to that level this year. Like how you're talking about with Instagram, like for me as well, I've got to a point where, you know, I don't want to be like, oh, what am I going to post today? I better got to get on the algorithm, blah, blah, blah. Like, I don't care about all that shit no more. If I want to share something, I'll share it. If I don't, I'll be off it. Like, that's not controlling my life anymore. I'm in charge, and I feel like that's a great way. And when we were having this conversation, I was like, you know, you're on that point as well. Like, I'm doing and acting from a place of power. There's one thing that I want to ask myself a lot more of this year, and is this action based on faith or on fear? And I think a lot of what people do, and I'm guilty of it too, is based on fear. I have to post on Instagram, otherwise I'm not gonna be allowed. It's fear. I'm scared because people are going to forget who I blah. Nah, the only decisions, and I can't remember who said this now. It was on some podcast or something, but I'm making my decisions based on faith and not on fear this year. That's a goal of mine. And I just want to
like
quickly,
that.
before we finish, I just want, someone sent a some email. So Kai just said we've got 15 minutes left on the thing. How long we got, bro?
It's a good question.
Okay, fine. Is that one still recording?
It's still recording.
Okay, that's fine.
Quite
So
nice.
this is an email that I got when I actually started the podcast, and
I think we're finished.
yeah, it's fine. Is that one still recording?
It is, yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
Well, we'll wrap it.
Okay, cool. This is the last little point. So it was someone that emailed right at the beginning when I did my first episode. They were like, "Hi Rax, I really enjoyed the first episode of your podcast and congratulations on 15 years in the industry. As you mentioned, we often already know the answers to our problems, but we convince ourselves otherwise. However, I would still like to hear your thoughts on what I'm going through. Over the last few months, I realized that the happiest moments will always be a little sad because my dad and Bapuji are no longer here with me today. I think the idea of this realization has always been in the back of my mind ever since their passing, but it has become more apparent in recent times after I achieved a few life goals. I'm struggling with how not to feel bitter about the situation and how to still celebrate those special moments in life. If you don't mind sharing, have you experienced something like this before? And if so, what are some things that have helped you?" So I think we kind of touched on this earlier on. That's
a very well written email.
Yeah.
So real feelings there, man.
Really, and I can totally
Bitter
relate.
was a good word.
Like, I feel like I still feel like that sometimes, and you know, when there's, like we were talking about previously, like when I've had an amazing achievement or I've seen something, there is that kind of, you know, a part of me that feels sad that my dad's not here to see that or to experience it. It used to be a lot more. I used to. I'll tell you this. I think maybe, Donnie, you're in a similar situation, or you've said something similar actually. That the people that love us that have gone, they wouldn't want us to be sad about them going. So if you're experiencing something amazing, like some sort of achievement or something amazing, this is what I tell myself. Like, my dad would be so happy. He'd be smiling right now, or he'd be loving this or enjoying it. And I try and focus on being happy about that. There is a feeling of sadness in that as well because they're not here. But you know how you kind of said how when you're at your lowest point, you're like, your mum didn't work that hard and do all that for you to be in that situation. So I feel like for me, there's something else that happened as well. Like, I don't really want to say it on the podcast, but there were some words of wisdom that I was given. And it was basically like, imagine the person that you've lost telling you before they were gone, imagine what they would say to you. Like, they would not say to you, "I want you to be sad about me passing away for the rest of your life." They would never say that. They would tell you to enjoy your life, like be in these moments, like live life, enjoy yourself, create a beautiful moments in your life, enjoy these things. They wouldn't want you to be sad about them passing. And we can't help it. Sometimes we are sad, we are upset. It's understandable, but recognize the sweetness and the memories of those people that we've lost, because that's where they live. They live in those memories. They live in those moments. They say you die twice. You die the day that you actually pass away, and you die when you're remembered for the last time. So remember people, talk about them, your loved ones, bring them up. Sometimes it's difficult, sometimes it's hard, but when you remember them, that's how they continue to live. Donnie, man, I think that's the end of the episode. Love you, bro.
Love you, man.
This has been amazing. Thank you guys for listening. The podcast 2022, we're gonna keep going with more episodes. And email in if you are if you've been affected by anything in the podcast, or you want to talk, feedback or anything from this episode. Email in and we'll talk about it on the next episode. Thank you guys. Thank you.
Like this. this.